The sky over Earth was calm that night, full of stars, peaceful and quiet. But in the dark space above, a small alien ship moved fast, burning through the clouds, heading toward the ground like a falling star. Inside the ship were two alien girls, sisters not by blood, but by punishment. Their names were Zara and Linari. Both were from a proud alien empire called the Zyrene Dominion. Zara had silver skin and sharp eyes, a warrior trained for battle. Tall and strong, Linari was smaller, with soft purple skin and glowing eyes, a tech-class genius who had never held a weapon. But now, both sat side by side in silence, hands locked in metal cuffs, their past lives erased. They had been accused of betrayal. The Empire said they had helped a rebel prince escape capture. The truth was different. They had only refused to kill him. Zara had blocked the commander's strike, and Linari had shut down the ship's weapons. That one act of mercy had made them enemies of their own people. Now, they were being exiled to the most dangerous place the Zyrene feared, Earth to them. Earth was a primitive world, full of chaos, war, and dirt. But to the Empire, it was a punishment planet, a place to forget the dishonored. Their orders were clear: no tech, no communication. Survive for 1 year or die trying. The ship crashed deep into a forest, flames rising as metal tore through trees. Zara kicked open the hatch and pulled Linari out just before the fire reached the fuel cells. They landed hard on the ground, coughing, their uniforms torn. The forest was strange, full of smells and sounds they had never known. Insects buzzed, birds cried, and the air was thick with wetness and green. Zara scanned the sky. No drones, no satellites nearby. We're alone, she said with a cold voice. Linari sat on the ground, holding her side, a bruise growing across her ribs. I didn't think it would hurt this much, she whispered. Zara looked at her, then away. This place is a cage, she said, but we will survive. They moved deeper into the woods, away from the burning wreck. They had nothing, no weapons, no food, no medicine, only the clothes on their backs and their instincts. Zara took charge, finding a dry cave near a waterfall. Linari tried to activate the emergency beacon hidden in her wrist, but it was dead. All tech was blocked. They truly had no way back. That night, they sat beside a small fire made from broken branches. Zara didn't speak. She watched the stars, remembering her training, her team, her honor all gone now. Linari broke the silence. Do you think anyone will come for us? No, Zara answered. They want us to disappear. But what if someone else finds us? They won't care. But Zara was wrong. At the edge of the trees, a young human boy named Caleb stood. Eyes wide, he had seen the falling light from his window and followed it. He wasn't supposed to be out this late, but curiosity burned in him like fire. He saw the broken ship, the tall silver alien standing like a statue, and the purple one lying beside her. He should have run instead. He stepped closer. A branch snapped under his foot. Zara turned instantly, eyes glowing, ready to strike. Who's there? She shouted. Caleb froze, then slowly raised both hands. I'm not here to hurt you, he said, voice shaking. Zara took one step forward. Linari stood up slowly, staring at the strange creature before them. A native, she whispered. Caleb looked at the two girls, confused but not afraid. You're not from around here, are you? He asked. Zara narrowed her eyes. What do you want? I saw the crash, he said. I just wanted to help. Linari looked at her sister. He's just a boy, she said softly. Zara didn't lower her guard, but she didn't attack either. Caleb took another step forward and dropped a flashlight and some packaged food on the ground. You can take this, he said. I live just over that hill. Zara looked at the items. Then at his face, she saw no fear, no hate, just kindness and maybe loneliness. She didn't know why. But something in her heart shifted. Go, she said, before I change my mind. Caleb nodded, turned, and disappeared into the trees. But before he left, he looked back once, and in that look, something began something that would change all their lives forever. Zara stared at the fire. "He'll bring others," she said. "No," Linari whispered. "I don't think he will." Zara didn't answer. But she watched the hill where he had gone, and for the first time on Earth, she felt something strange in her chest. Not fear, not anger, hope. Asterisk, he should have turned around that night. He should have told someone, a teacher, the police, anyone. But Caleb didn't. Instead, he went back. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. He didn't understand why he was drawn to them, 2 strange girls from the stars. Dangerous, alien, and definitely not part of his boring human life. But something about the way the silver-skinned one had shielded the other, something about the pain in their eyes had pulled him in. The next night, Caleb returned to the cave with more food, some clean blankets, and pain medicine from his dad's emergency kit. He placed it all on a flat stone and didn't step closer. "I brought stuff," he said, voice soft. "You don't have to talk to me." Zara stood inside the cave shadows, watching him like a hawk. Linari, weaker now, stepped forward and picked up the supplies. She looked at Caleb and then at her sister. "He's not lying," she said quietly. "He's helping." Zara stayed silent. Caleb didn't expect a thank you. But he also didn't run when Zara finally stepped out of the cave and came face to face with him. She was taller than him, and her eyes looked like storm clouds, cold and unreadable. "You're strange," she said. "So are you," he replied. That made Linari laugh, a soft, musical sound Caleb had never heard before. Over the next few days, Caleb kept coming. He brought books, snacks, and even a small radio that played Earth music. He told them stories about school, his annoying neighbors, and how his mom had died 3 years ago. They listened in silence. Zara didn't trust him, not fully. But Linari began to smile more, and sometimes even asked him questions about Earth. "Why do humans eat so much sugar?" she asked one day. Caleb grinned. "Because sadness tastes better with chocolate." Zara rolled her eyes but said nothing. One night, as cold rain fell, Linari began coughing badly. Her body shook, and she clutched her chest, gasping for air. Caleb jumped up, panicking. "What's wrong with her?" Zara held her sister, her voice tight with fear. "Her lungs aren't used to this air. The bacteria, the pollution, it's poisoning her. Let me help." Caleb said, already pulling out his phone. "No hospitals," Zara barked. "If humans find out what we are, they'll take us, experiment on us." Caleb paused, then nodded. "Fine," he said. "Then we fix her here." He ran back home. Stayed up all night watching videos, reading science forums, studying alien biology, even though none of it made sense. He came back the next morning with a water purifier, charcoal filters, and a handmade breathing mask made from a modified camping filter. "I'm not a scientist," he told Zara, "but this might help." Zara looked at him, confused. "Why?" she asked. "Why are you doing all this?" Caleb shrugged. "Maybe because I know what it feels like to be invisible." Linari wore the mask, and slowly, her breathing steadied. She still coughed, but the fire in her lungs faded. Caleb stayed beside her for hours, holding her hand even when Zara told him to leave, and for the first time, Zara didn't stop him. That night, something changed in the cave. It wasn't just about survival anymore. Zara sharpened sticks into weapons, primitive but deadly. Linari started drawing Earth maps using charcoal and torn pages from Caleb's notebook. Caleb taught them about human emotions, love, loss, humor, and in return, they told him about the stars, about massive cities built on asteroids, royal courts in orbit, and creatures that swam through solar winds. But Zara never laughed. She still slept with one eye open. She still believed that trust was dangerous, until one morning, she heard the sound of a vehicle, a black van parked on the road near the forest. Men in suits stepped out. Not police, not soldiers, something worse. Zara's heart froze. She grabbed Linari. "Stay hidden," she whispered. "Caleb may have led them here." She was about to run, but then Caleb came, sprinting through the trees, panic on his face. Get out of here. He yelled. I saw them asking questions at the gas station. They're not with the government. There's something else. Zara stared at him. He was out of breath, scratched by thorns, his hands shaking, and in that moment, she knew he hadn't betrayed them. He was risking everything to protect them. I have a friend, Caleb said between gasps. She owns a junkyard outside town. Nobody goes there. We can hide you. Linari clutched her sister's arm. Zara, we should go. Zara looked at the boy, and for the first time, she nodded. Lead the way, human, she said. They disappeared into the forest, 2 alien girls and 1 human boy, and behind them, the men in suits found nothing but ashes and smoke. But one of them looked up at the stars and muttered, "They're not from here." The junkyard didn't look like a safe place. It was filled with broken machines, rusted metal, and the sharp smell of oil. But to Zara, Linari, and Caleb, it was the only place where no one would look. Caleb's friend, Jenna, was 22. Tough, smart, and didn't ask questions. When Caleb showed up with 2 alien girls in the back of her old pickup truck, she didn't scream. She simply raised an eyebrow and said, "You're gonna owe me big." Zara didn't trust her. Linari could barely breathe, her body still weak even with the mask Caleb built. They moved into the back of an old bus at the far end of the yard, surrounded by scrap piles. There was no power, no comfort, no warmth, but it was hidden, and for now, that was enough. Zara worked to keep Linari alive. She boiled water on a makeshift stove, cleaned wounds with whatever she could find, and stayed awake at night, knife in hand, but she couldn't stop the coughing. It got worse every day. Linari's body was not made for Earth's air. It was heavy, full of invisible particles. Too dirty, too strange. Even the mask Caleb made only slowed the damage. Zara hated it. She hated this world. Hated the weakness in her sister. Hated the way she couldn't fix anything. One night, she stepped outside the bus, fists clenched. Caleb sat nearby, watching the stars from the roof of a broken van. He didn't say anything until she looked up at him. "You blame me," he said. Zara didn't answer. Caleb climbed down slowly and walked up to her. "You think Earth is killing her," he said softly. "But you're wrong." Zara's eyes narrowed. "Then what is?" "She's not dying because of Earth," Caleb said. "She's dying because she's alone." Zara's jaw tightened. "I've seen this before," Caleb continued. "After my mom died, my dad stopped talking, stopped eating, just sat in the garage all day, like he couldn't breathe the same air anymore." "What are you saying?" Zara asked. "She needs connection," he replied. "She needs to feel alive again." Zara looked back at the bus where Linari slept. "I don't know how to give that," she whispered. "Maybe." "You don't have to," Caleb said. "Maybe." "I can." The next day, he brought color into her world. He brought small things, flowers from the field, drawings, a cheap toy that played soft music. He even taught Linari how to blow soap bubbles. At first, she was too weak to smile. But slowly, she changed. She started sitting up again. She listened to Caleb's stories and laughed at his silly jokes. She looked at the earth sky like it was no longer a curse, but a painting waiting to be touched. And one evening, she took off the breathing mask for a full minute and didn't choke. Zara watched this from a distance. It scared her, because she had trained her whole life to fight enemies, but not to fight feelings, and now, her sister was healing not with medicine, but with a human heart. Zara still didn't trust Caleb completely, but part of her started to wonder, what if he wasn't the danger? What if he was the reason they were still alive? Then, one morning, a low hum filled the air. Zara rushed outside. Blades in hand, hovering above the junkyard, was a sleek silver drone, not human-made. It scanned the area, then flew off without a sound. Zara's blood turned cold. "That was Zyrene Tech," she said. "They found us." Caleb's face went pale. "What do we do now?" Zara didn't answer right away. She looked at Linari, who was standing beside the bus, mask in hand, stronger now. Then she looked at Caleb. You teach us how to survive Earth, she said slowly, and we'll teach you how to survive what's coming. Zara had never touched anyone gently before, not in her entire life. Touch, in her world, meant combat, training, or punishment. But tonight, her hand rested on Linari's head as the younger girl slept peacefully in the back of the old bus. No mask, no coughing, just quiet breathing. Zara should have felt relief instead. She felt afraid, not of enemies, not of death, but of the strange warmth growing in her chest every time she looked at the human boy who made her sister laugh. Caleb was unlike anyone she'd known, clumsy but clever, weak but full of fire. He had no weapons, no training, no plan, but still, he stood beside them without hesitation. Zara didn't understand it. She didn't like not understanding that morning. She walked out into the junkyard and found Caleb trying to fix a solar light with tape and broken wires. It won't work, she said. I know, he smiled, but trying makes me feel smart. Zara sat on an old tire, arms crossed, eyes watching every move he made. You're not like the males on our world, she said. Is that a good thing? Caleb asked. Zara didn't answer. Linari joined them later. Full of energy for the first time in weeks, she had braided her long purple hair, tried on human clothes Jenna gave her, and even wore sunglasses just for fun. She was starting to look more like a girl and less like a soldier's shadow. Zara, Linari said that afternoon. I want to go outside the junkyard. Zara stiffened. No, but I'm better now, she said. And Caleb says there's a small market nearby, lots of colors, lots of smells, new things to see. Zara turned to Caleb, eyes sharp. You said that? He nodded. I'll keep her safe. Zara wanted to say no, but then she saw Linari's face, full of hope, not fear, and she couldn't break that light again. Stay hidden, she said. No risks. The small town nearby was quiet. Linari wore a hoodie and large glasses, hiding her features. Caleb walked beside her, pointing out fruit stands and children playing with kites. It was simple, but to Linari it felt like magic. She held a cold soda can in one hand and looked up at the sky. This world is dirty, she said, but it's also soft. Caleb chuckled. That's one way to describe Earth. Back in the junkyard, Zara waited near the fence, watching every direction and hating every second of it. She was used to battlefields, not waiting for feelings to get involved. But something else was bothering her too, Jenna. Zara didn't like how Jenna kept talking to her, asking questions, laughing too easily, touching her shoulder when she didn't need to. Zara was used to being feared, but Jenna didn't fear her. That evening, while the others sat around a fire roasting marshmallows, Zara walked away and sat alone on top of a scrap pile. Jenna climbed up behind her, holding 2 mugs of hot tea. Want one? Jenna asked. Zara looked at her, then took the mug without a word. You're always so serious, Jenna said, sitting beside her, like the world's about to end. It usually is, Zara replied. They sat in silence for a while. Then Jenna said something that made Zara freeze. Do your people feel love the same way we do? Zara didn't answer, because she didn't know the answer herself. In her world, love was weakness. But here on this broken world with its soft skies and strange hearts, weakness felt like something else. Zara looked at Jenna, confused and curious. Before she could speak, a loud explosion shook the ground. Caleb and Linari ran out of the bus as flames rose from the back corner of the junkyard. Someone had thrown a plasma-charged alien tech. Zara jumped down without hesitation, blades drawn. 3 tall figures stepped out of the smoke. Zerine hunters, elite enforcers from their homeworld. They weren't here to talk. They were here to take them back or erase them forever. Caleb shouted, "Get down!" But Zara was already charging forward, not to fight for herself, but to protect the strange little family she didn't know she needed. The air split with a sharp whine, a sound that didn't belong on Earth. Then came the heat. The fireball lit up the junkyard sky, turning night into day for a single second. Metal flew like deadly birds, smashing through piles of scrap and setting Old tires ablaze, Caleb dove over Linari, shielding her with his body as a wave of heat washed over them. Zara was already on her feet, blades drawn, eyes glowing like stormlight. This wasn't a warning. It was a message. They've come to take you home dead or alive. From the smoke stepped 3 figures, tall and armored in black chrome. Zyrine hunters, not soldiers. Not diplomats, these were executioners, trained for silence, trained to erase mistakes, and Zara was one of those mistakes now. She recognized the lead hunter commander Kix. He had once trained her. Now, his eyes were cold as stone as he raised a glowing staff. "Zara of Unit 7, he said, voice flat. "Surrender now and spare." The girl's life. Zara didn't move. "Linari is no longer under your command," she replied. "And I do not surrender." Caleb stood slowly, eyes wide with fear but fists clenched. "You can't take her," he shouted. "This is Earth." Kix tilted his head at Caleb like he was an insect on a windshield. "You speak," he said, "but you don't matter." Then he raised the staff. Zara moved like lightning. She slammed her blade into the ground, kicked off a pile of steel, and struck first. Her blade met Kix's staff mid-air, metal clashing, sparks flying. The other 2 hunters moved to flank her, but Linari was ready, even weak. She was still a genius. She grabbed an old engine coil, supercharged it with the solar battery Caleb had left charging nearby, and tossed it into a puddle at their feet. Electric shock lit the area with a crackling pop. 1 hunter screamed and fell, armor sparking. Caleb grabbed Linari and pulled her behind a wrecked car. "Do you have a plan?" she asked. "Nope," he shouted, "but running sounds good." Zara fought with everything she had: speed, skill, fury, but the hunters were stronger. Their armor built for war. Kick struck her across the ribs hard. She crashed into a wall of scrap, coughing blood, but still got up. "Why fight?" Kix asked, voice cold. "This planet is nothing to you." "You're wrong," Zara growled. "I bled on this ground. I healed here. I found something you'll never understand." "What?" Zara looked at Caleb, his eyes wild but full of fire, and at Linari, who clutched his hand like it was her anchor. "Freedom," Zara whispered. With one last cry, she charged again, but this time she wasn't alone. Jenna had returned, driving a forklift at full speed. She slammed it into the second hunter, launching him into a burning heap of scrap. Zara used the distraction to kick Kix's staff from his hand and knock him to the ground. "You've lost," she said, but Kix smiled, blood in his teeth. "This is just the beginning," he whispered. Then he pressed a button on his belt and vanished in a flash of light. Gone. The others were gone too. Evacuated, defeated. But not for long. Zara stood shaking, every part of her body aching. Caleb rushed to her, grabbing her arm. "You okay?" She didn't answer. Linari was crying quietly, not from fear, but from something deeper. "They'll come back," she said, "and next time with more." Zara looked around the ruined junkyard. Flames rising, Jenna trying to put out the fire. "This place isn't safe anymore," she said. "Where will we go?" Caleb asked. Zara's eyes narrowed. "To the stars," she said. "But not to run, to speak." "To who?" "To their leaders," Zara replied. "To the empire that threw US away." Linari stepped forward, voice shaking but strong. "They still follow the old ways, but there's a law, a forgotten one. The trial of the ancient right." Zara nodded. "If we claim it, they'll have to listen. But we're not part of their system anymore." Caleb said. Zara looked at him. "No," she said, "you're not. But maybe that's exactly what we need." The ship was small, barely holding together. It wasn't made for space travel. It was made from junk, old engines, broken panels, repurposed tech stolen from forgotten corners of Earth. But it flew, and that was all they needed. Zara sat at the front, hands steady on the controls, jaw tight. Beside her sat Caleb, eyes wide, heart pounding as he watched the stars for the first time. Behind them, Linari lay resting, her energy still low but her mind sharp, and just like that, Earth was behind them. They were heading straight into the lion's mouth toward the Zerine Empire, the place that had banished them, the place that would rather forget they existed. Zara didn't care. She wasn't going back to beg, she was going back to challenge them, to stand in the Great Hall and call for something long buried by pride and power, the trial of the ancient right. It was an old law older than war, older than the current rulers. It said that any Zerine, no matter their status, could demand a public trial before the High Circle if they survived exile. And if they brought a witness from another world, Caleb was that witness, a human, the very thing the Zerine feared and mocked, and he was about to walk into their most sacred chamber, not as a pet, but as proof that something greater than the Empire still existed. Choice. When they landed, guards surrounded them instantly, weapons drawn, but Zara stood tall. "I invoke the ancient right," she shouted, voice like thunder. The guards hesitated. The words held power. Even after all this time, they were taken into custody. Not as criminals, but as challengers. Zara and Linari were separated and questioned, poked, studied, until a scientist with too many medals whispered, "Let the humans speak." They were brought to the trial chamber, a place of golden stone, built into the heart of a space station orbiting a red sun. High lords and ladies sat in circles. Above them, dressed in layers of silk and armor, they looked down with eyes that had never seen dirt, never felt pain. Caleb stood at the center. "A human among giants, speak, outsider," one of them said, voice dripping with disgust. "Explain why these traitors deserve our time." Caleb's heart raced, but he looked at Zara, her face still bruised from battle, and at Linari, holding her own shaking hands. Then he began. "I'm not a warrior," Caleb said. "I'm not a scientist or leader. I'm just me. A boy who saw two girls fall from the sky and decided not to run. I helped them, not because they were aliens, but because they were hurting." He paused. "In your world, maybe that's weakness," he said. "But where I come from, we call it kindness." The crowd murmured. One lord stood. "And what does this have to do with the law?" Caleb looked up at them. "Because your law says survival is enough," he said. "And they did more than survive. They changed." He pointed to Zara. "She could have killed me the first night," he said, "but she didn't. She protected her sister, fought off your hunters, and gave up safety to stand here and be judged by you." "And Linari?" Caleb added. "She was dying, but she smiled. Because Earth gave her something you couldn't. Freedom." The room fell silent. Zara stepped forward next. She spoke of her training, her loyalty, her exile. Then she told them something no one expected. "I don't want to return," she said. "I want you to change. Let your children choose who they protect." She said, "Let them feel, let them fall, and rise again. Let them be more than tools." One old woman in the high seat stood slowly. Her voice was quiet but clear. "And what do you ask of us?" Zara raised her chin. "Clear our names," she said, "and acknowledge that Earth is not beneath us." The High Circle whispered among themselves. The silence lasted for hours. Then the lead judge spoke. "Your trial has ended," he said. "Your exile is lifted." The hall gasped. Caleb didn't even understand until Zara turned to him, eyes wide with disbelief. "We won," she whispered. "But the judge wasn't done." "You may leave in peace," he said, "but do not return. The law may forgive, but the Empire does not forget." They walked out of the chamber in silence. No cheers, no honor restored. But they walked out free, and sometimes that's more powerful than any crown. It didn't feel like victory. There were no parades, no medals, no music. Just a quiet ride back through the stars, heading toward the small blue planet where it all began. Earth. Zara stared out the ship's window in silence. She had stood before. Her people faced her past and demanded justice, and they gave it, but not with love, not with respect, only cold silence and closed doors. Still, that was enough. Linari leaned against her shoulder, asleep, her breathing steady and natural. "No, More masks, no more coughing. She had survived Earth. And Earth had changed her. Caleb sat across from them, turning a small device in his hand, something Linari had built just before they left the Empire. It was a translator, a communicator, and something else too. A gift, Linari had said shyly. So you're never alone again. Caleb smiled as he looked at it, for the first time in his life. He didn't feel invisible. He felt seen. They returned to Jenna's junkyard weeks later. It was different now, cleaner, stronger, full of hidden tech and quiet smiles. Zara stepped onto Earth's soil and breathed deeply. It no longer smelled like punishment. It smelled like home. They didn't go back to hiding. They didn't need to. Zara and Linari were no longer fugitives. They were free people. Free to choose where to live. Free to decide who to love. And love, it turned out, had been waiting all along. One afternoon, Caleb sat with Zara under a wide tree, its roots reaching deep into the earth, like arms that never let go. He looked at her carefully, then asked something simple. Do you miss your people? Zara thought for a long time before answering. No, she said, because I've found my people here. Caleb blushed. Does that include me? Zara smirked. Unfortunately, yes, he laughed. And she didn't stop him. Later that day, Linari walked out into the garden behind the junkyard. In her hands, she carried a strange plant, something that hadn't existed before. Its petals shimmered with earth colors, but its stem glowed with Zyrene light. She knelt and planted it gently into the dirt. Caleb walked over, curious. What is it? It's a blend, Linari said softly. Half earth seed, half alien root. Caleb raised an eyebrow. Will it grow? Linari smiled. It already is. Weeks passed. Then months. Their story became legend, whispered in secret space channels, told in underground networks where Zyrine outcasts dreamed of freedom. No one knew their names in the stars anymore, but on Earth, they were just three odd friends who lived behind a junkyard. Simple, strange, safe. One night, as rain tapped gently on the roof of the old bus, Zara looked at the others and asked a question she never thought she'd ask. Do we feel like a family? Caleb smiled without hesitation. We are a family, Lee nodded. A new kind. And Zara, warrior, exile, protector, finally let herself believe it. Outside, the blended plant began to bloom. Its petals opened wide beneath the earth sky, catching the rain, glowing softly in the dark. Not alien, not human, just something beautiful between the two. A symbol of everything they had become together.